Alright, so I'm just gonna start this shit because I'm sitting here literally squirming, writing furiously, trying to come up with a flow for this video. And the only thing that keeps coming up to me is what about the last video I did, and the topic is fear. This past weekend was my birthday, and I chose to do something, quite a few things actually. But one major thing on my birthday, I went swimming with sharks, open water swimming. And sharks have been, embarrassingly enough, for me being a Floridian, something I've always been kind of afraid of. I've never been able to really truly enjoy floating in the water and swimming in the ocean because I'm always constantly thinking in the back of my mind, watch out for that shadow, or oh my God, that water looks dark over there. And all the while trying to tell myself in my head, like, just relax, you're fine. You've seen a shark once in your fucking life. You've lived in Florida your whole life. Chill out. And so, once I start to talk to myself like that, I realize that I jack my brain up. It's almost like my brain just drank a Red Bull or a Monster, and it's running faster than I can keep up with it at that point. So I chose to do that on my birthday. It was a chartered dive, obviously, and it was amazing. It was absolutely magical. I was so impressed with myself, and I'm not afraid to say that I was able to maintain a really calm, my composure was calm, and my heartbeat, I thought that my heart was going to just be like pounding the entire time, but it really wasn't. Surprisingly, it wasn't. I had intentions for that dive to go well, and I really wanted to get the most out of it. And I think because I chose to focus on that more than tune into my fear frequency, that's exactly how it went. Not to say that I wasn't scared, because a couple times, obviously, yeah, I was scared. And when I first got in the water, I was scared. But once I was able to see them just behaving naturally and coming up to you, they're literally like puppy dogs, and they instruct you before you get in the water to put your hand on their head and push them away if they're coming at you. And, my brain wanted to be like, what the fuck? What do you mean push them away as they come up to me? This isn't part of the plan. But yes, it is. Yes, it was. Who was I kidding? Did I really not want them to come up to me? Fuck yeah, I did. So I was happy, beyond happy overall, ecstatic, proud, feeling liberated. And, that was like a fear that I chose to walk into in order to prove to myself. And it's just kind of coming up for me that I did that the day before with, one of the people that I have been struggling with recently, somebody that means a lot to me. And, I know it needed to happen. And I knew that if I didn't create the space for that conversation to be had and processed, that I would have been, Super Mario and running from that ghost that's chasing me as my back is turned to it, constantly trying to ignore it and, write it off as whatever. It's just a separation. That's just how things go. You grow apart. Losing friends is growing up. And I still do believe that losing friends is growing up. But this isn't just a regular old friend. This is I believe it's like 18 years we've been friends now. This is a best friendship, and it means a lot to me, and I wasn't willing to just be antagonized by my anxiety for the rest of my life because my ego didn't want me to step into this and do this and have this conversation. So, it's, I feel like it's easy for me to apologize. I feel like I can accept my wrongdoings, but also when I say that, it's me thinking of the times where it was easy for me to do that. So, I can trick myself into believing that I'm strong based on what I choose to, what memories I choose to attach to my meaning of strength. So if I'm only cherry picking the good ones, then I really don't know how strong I am. It's really in the negative and the very uncomfortable and unpredictable situations that we're really shown just how strong we actually are. When we have to use our strength, that really tells us how strong we actually are. You don't really know how much willpower you have until you're faced with what it is you say doesn't bother you. But walking into that and going through that and sitting through that uncomfortability, brought a lot of other things to light, as far as it shined a big old spotlight on, my assumptions. And I would like to believe that I don't have a lot of assumptions, but who am I kidding? I'm human. I do. And I talk myself into my assumptions, kind of preparing me for what to expect. And I know that I have talked about before, it doesn't make sense to hope for the best, prepare for the worst. And my assumptions are seemingly in more towards a negative aspect. I know how this person's going to handle this, or I know how they're going to react, or I know what they're going to say or what they're not going to say. I know we're just not going to get anywhere, and that's fucking bullshit. I proved that to myself, and I am so happy and so relieved that I did, because once, literally, and I'm not, I am some hippy dippy, but it was like an explosion of release, as far as, the pressure in my chest and in my brain, really, everywhere in my body. I felt a release when we were both able to not just yell over each other, not just continue to dig our heels into our own belief, and actually kind of coax each other out of where we were standing, our stance on the issue, and kind of do the dance. We let each other speak, and we let each other be heard, and felt really, we let each other say the uncomfortable things and not just get up and walk away. So doing that, we were able to kind of see that we were doing exactly the same thing in our own way, and just really like turning hard, like really turning blindly to looking at what the other person is doing, because I'm so focused over here on my shit, and that's what I need to be doing, and you don't understand it, so I don't need to spend any time trying to make you understand it, because you're committed to misunderstanding me. And I've said that so many times. And yeah, that's true for some people, but I believe that in, figuring that conversation out was maybe I was committed to misunderstanding this person. And really, that literally just came to me right now. But yeah, I do believe that I was committed to misunderstanding them, because I had my own assumptions based on, years and years of experience with this person. And I wasn't really willing to see it any other way, because the pushback was so strong that it was exhausting me and taking me away from putting energy into what I want to do and help people. And it was really making me second guess, everything that I was doing. And as much as I say, and we say, forget about it, don't worry about it, just don't think about it, that is fucking bullshit. We know how hard it is to just don't worry about it. That's pretty much almost impossible. And when we say just don't think about it, well, that is actually calling you to think about it. You have to think about the thing to try not to think about it. It's the white bear experiment, where they tell you to go in a room and not think about it. You can think about anything else in the world, just don't think about a white bear. What the fuck you think you're going to go in that room and do? You're going to think about a white bear. It just doesn't work when we tell ourselves not to do this one thing that we actually know we're doing. And then that thing kind of continues to bother us and bother us and bother us. It's bringing me right now to when I did my hypnotherapy training. I'm just going to say this really quick. When you're trying to put someone into a hypnotic trance, and, there's things going on all outside, like the air conditioning clicks on, or if you're in an office space and you hear the cars going by outside, or, the light, your fan pull is clicking on your light when you're trying to go to sleep or whatnot. And all these things seem to just bother us and really take us out of what we're trying to do. As trained hypnotherapists, we were told to kind of bring that into the situation, to normalize that, to harmonize that with where we're at. Yes, you hear the cars going, by the window outside, and yes, you hear the fan pull clicking on the light, and yes, you heard the air conditioning just click on. Allow that to, be part of your process. The more we try to ignore these things, the more they want attention. It reminds me of the Stewie thing I had touched on before, like when he's at Lois's leg, and he's just like, Mom, Mom, Mommy, Mama, Mom. And she just looks down like, what? And that's all he wanted. He just wanted to be acknowledged. He's like, hi, that's it. That's all we got to do. You just acknowledge that they're there. These fears, these things that we feel like, are pushing us and pulling us in ways that we don't want to be taken. They're taking us exactly where we need to go, because where we're going willfully is probably in another circle, because we're not going to willfully, our ego, let me say, I'll rephrase that, our ego will not willfully walk into a situation it doesn't know how to handle, and it's not good at handling. Nobody really wants to do anything they're good at, which is why a lot of people stay stuck in their comfort zones. And when you stay in your comfort zone and you just kind of live there and you camp out there for quite a while, you become very arrogant and egotistical, because we don't end up doing very many new things that we're uncomfortable with. Instead, we keep doing the same things that we've always been doing, and we just get better and better at those because we're practicing them all the time. It makes complete sense. But if those things in your comfort zone are to blame, are to make excuses, are to shift, are to, denial is huge, or to cover it up, or to go, have a drink about it, or smoke about it, or, go talk shit to someone else about it. When we're doing all these things, we're getting really good at doing those things. And we're not really getting good at, being uncomfortable, or, practicing new things. That sounded so basic. But I'm in my head right now, so I'm going to try to get the hell out of there, because this is what it looks like to overthink something. And I don't want to lose sight of this message. So I want to bring it back to the fact that I'm really grateful that my soul didn't shut up, and it didn't allow my ego to just grab me by the hand and pull me out of this relationship. As uncomfortable as it might have been, and as many times as we might have had to have the conversation, it worked out for the best, for the absolute best. We both were able to grow. We both have a new understanding, and what I did also come around to understanding is that the way that I was doing is what I want to be doing. I love this Woke Anonymous. I'm loving doing this, but the way that I came to this idea to even do this channel was, through my own kind of battle with an alternative truth, or with the truth that I was being fed. And it was I made it very public, and people thought I was crazy. People still think I'm crazy. People will always think I'm crazy, and that's cool. But I didn't really need people to understand why I was doing what I was doing or where I was going, as long as I got to where I wanted, and I did. But I understand that it was also, bringing me a source of frustration when the people close to me weren't interested in what I was doing, because they were assuming that it was about, this whirlwind of information that I just went through and I've been posting about and I went nuts with, and they don't really want anything to do with it, and that's fine. But I realized that, by me zooming into my own purpose too much, I wasn't able to see the other, kind of solutions or other doors that were there for me to walk through, as far as how to maintain my path that I'm on. I was really looking at it as like this one-way street, and I'm heading down it, I'm trailblazing it, and nobody's going to stop me. But there's so many different ways to get where you're going, and when we only, allow ourselves to take the route that our will wants us to take, we've got to understand that is a lot of our ego's doing, because it's most likely taking us down the path that we understand the most and that's the most comfortable to us. Even though we're going to figure it out as we go, it's still, there's very familiar things in there, very familiar feelings in there. And that's not really whole and complete growth. I'm thinking of like a plant that has like multiple branches on it, and if only one of the branches is growing leaves, then that tree isn't, we don't really look at that tree or bush and say that it's beautiful. We probably look at it and we're like, oh my God, it looks sick. only one of the branches are growing leaves. A poor thing, it needs some food, it needs some watering, it needs some love, it needs some nutrients. And, the nutrients of other people's perspectives, it's something that we can, or we must, or it's a good idea to be aware of. Some people are going to try to poison us, with their doubt and their misunderstanding. But a lot of the people, if they've been in your life for a long time and they are close to you and they are, they've been supportive in many other ways, they're probably not trying to poison you this time. They just don't know what to feed you. And so by having this conversation, I was able to see and expand my perception of how I want to advertise this, how much I want to work on this, what other areas can I, create in order to make this platform bigger, to make it more expansive, more relatable, and not just through the road that got me here, which is a road full of conspiracy theories. And, for a while there I was, and I still do believe, that a conspiracy theorist is literally just a free thinker. And a lot of people want to say that they're free thinkers, but use conspiracy theory when it's, something that they don't really match with or identify with or agree with or want to believe. So they'll just kind of write it off as such, but I don't want to get lost in that. So for me, it's conspiracy theory, free thinker, whatever you want to call it. You got to be pretty brave to do that. It's a tough journey out there because it requires feeling lonely. And that's something that I never really, I can't say I've never felt it, obviously, but I really enjoy my own time. It helps me really stay connected with myself. I'm a very independent person. And when I spend too much time outside of myself in other people's opinions or with a lot of people, I start to kind of just skip over the things that I know work out for me, because the more that you're participating in life with other people, the more you're, probably making plans and promises and, things that you want to kind of upkeep, and that requires you to continue to stay outside of yourself. And, I really don't want to do this, but I told her that I would. Take a look at that. You can always do it another time, another day. So, we've really got to pay attention to where we're walking, and if the path that we're walking on is completely lonely, and even if it's not, even if you've got some supporters, it's always a good idea to keep your eyes on the other cars or the other lanes, because you're not the only car on the road, and we've all got to drive. Think about when you're driving on a highway. You don't want to just be completely, in your own world, jamming out to your music, switching lanes, speeding down, slowing up, looking at whatever you want. You've got to be aware of your own lane, but also aware of where the other people are, driving around you, in front of you, behind you. Are they coming up fast? Are they stepping on their brakes? Are they, on their phone and drifting in and out of the lane? This is the same kind of idea that, the way people are walking through life with us, if they're just being willy-nilly and just kind of all over the place and allowing other people to dictate their moods and their behaviors, please understand that that's probably somebody that you want to keep some distance from for a little while. And, if they're not, if you feel like they're kind of keeping up with you and they're driving safely, then, keep them around you. I don't know if that really made sense. I don't want to harp too much on the problem, because I'm so grateful for the solution that we got to. And I'm just understanding that, I was able to look at this person as a mirror. And I truly believe that what we don't like in other people is, what we don't like about ourselves, that we're refusing to accept or pay attention to, and we're in denial about. And this or other person doing these things is slowly, like pecking at, the reality of the truth that we're trying to cover up with denial. I might be losing myself in this conversation, so I'm going to stop this here because I'm going to try to polish this up because there's so many places that I want to go with this, but I'm already been rambling for 20 minutes. So I'm going to wrap this up here, and I'll get back to you guys on all this. Thanks for sticking it through with me.